There we go. Episode 19, still surviving over here. Might have something to do with
No way, surviving and thriving, man.
It might have something to do that we're not getting paid to do this. However, Mainline Marlins podcast, David Winker, Tommy Stitt, we've got a special guest on. I'm eager to talk to a Maryland guy where I went to the University of Maryland. So and my parents had a house there in Western Maryland for a long time, and we went there as kids and until I was after college. So, but this guy apparently is like the grinder of the Herald, covering everything from women's field hockey at like the 12-year-old level all the way to the Florida Panthers, Marlins.
I love that. That is a great description of David Wilson, the
he
grinder,
is the utility player of the Miami Herald.
The grinder of the Miami Herald.
Super awesome.
Let's bring him on.
Let's pop him in. Let's take the overlay off there for
me. Look, that's a grinder haircut. That's like a hockey haircut.
Yeah, awesome, man. David, welcome, brother.
Yeah, thanks for having me on. Yeah, I'm sort of the Martin Prado of the Herald.
Nice.
I gotta say before we start, but when you were coming on, before we got you on, Tommy Stitt looked at me and said, "Hey, this ain't gonna be the hockey show, right?"
That was a good win last night.
Yeah.
So we're gonna have our hockey talk before we get to the baseball, but tell us. I thought the introduction was very fair. We're gonna stop calling you Miami sports reporter. We're gonna call you the Miami Herald grinder. But to me, what you do in covering, I mean, he was up in Lakeland covering the women's basketball tournament and the men's basketball tournament too, right?
Yeah, for like 2 weeks, basically.
I see you at all the high school games, and to me, it's like for us lawyers, like those guys that are at the courthouse every day, in and out, like that's what like we love what you do, and thank you for doing your coverage. And now you're torn in two directions because I know you're doing both Marlins, and now you just got on the Panthers.
Yeah. I help out Jordan with the Marlins. Jordan's mainly a Marlins guy up there, but obviously he needs a day off every once in a while, so I help him out. But yeah, it's kind of shifted to the Panthers for a little bit here. They're, we don't have a full-time Panthers writer at the Herald because the the interest is kind of wanes and waxes with them, but they're one of the 5 or 6 best teams in the league right now. So it's exciting. It's an exciting time to hop onto that beat. As Tommy noted, I'm from the Northeast, so I've got some hockey familiarity and grew up following the sport. So excited to cover that team a little bit and see if they can keep this little run going.
Well, we're going to talk baseball, but I do have to tell you, my wife called me. I was with my 8-year-old daughter watching that game last night. I was texting with David, and I said to him, I said, we're going to see what this team has after 2 crap goals.
Did, yeah.
2 deflection goals, and they fought back, and my wife was like, I cannot believe the screaming that's coming from the bedroom. And that was my daughter and I watching that game. Anyone, I encourage you to tune in, watch these Panthers. It's exciting hockey. So that's it. I promise, no more hockey talk.
Right on. So look, it's got to be difficult because I know how hard it is for us to just cover the Marlins, but now he's got to cover all kinds of crazy. I mean, yeah. Do you ever sleep really?
Look at him. Does he look like
I should, probably. I don't have time to get a haircut, as you can see.
Right on. So tell me, what part of Maryland did you grow up in?
I'm from Montgomery County, right outside DC. So.
All right. So I went to University of Maryland, College Park, and then I lived in Georgetown for a while. So you're probably a big Capital fan growing up.
I was actually a Flyers fan. My dad's from Philly, so Philly teams. But all my friends were Caps fans. Both teams were really good at the time, so like we were all kind of into it together. We played a lot of NHL 09 for PlayStation 3.
Oh, right on. So the Marlins are right now. How many is it in a row? Or five ties?
The press release Christina Di Nicola sent out. I saw she retweeted the Marlins press release. 4 ties in a row.
Yeah.
And the Marlins press release said something about the effect of like that's never happened before. 4 ties.
But I don't know that it's something to be proud of, really, necessarily. So I guess one of the real.
I think I saw Don Mattingly said today a tie is as good as a win because it's not a loss in spring training.
That's right. But it's kind of like kissing your sister. So I mean, you got to. Yeah, we got to get a W today, hopefully. What do you think? What's the status of Sixto? Do you think he's going to be ready for opening day?
Well, it's interesting because they've got the way the schedule sets up, they only need a 4-man rotation to start the year. So they really don't need to rush him. I think they can get through 2 turns of the rotation before they need a 5th. So theoretically, they could, he could debut in, I guess, the 13th game of the year. And they would be fine. They wouldn't need a replacement for him. He had a bunch of setbacks, obviously, with the getting here late because of the visa issue, and then the false positive COVID test kept him out a couple of days. And he's kind of a guy they don't like to rush. It was the same deal the year they got him here. 2 years ago, I guess. It was the same deal last year. He's some pitchers are like that. They can be kind of finicky with their routine and their build up. So I wouldn't be surprised if he's ready for the start of the year, but I don't think they're going to rush him. And that 13th start of the year, to me, it seems like a good date to circle for when he might be ready. Or maybe, right. I guess it could be a little earlier. Maybe they do him in the 5th, I guess the 9th game of the year to start the 3rd turn through the rotation. But it feels, I don't think he's going to be too heavily delayed, and I don't think it'll affect the Marlins too much. But I wouldn't be surprised if he takes some time to build up here.
Yeah, and you still got Nick Neidert and Trevor Rogers battling too for that last slot. So I think we're going to be all right. So did you get to see any of yesterday's game, that bomb by Harrison? And there's pretty decent pitching. Sandy pitched great.
I didn't get to see yesterday, but yeah, Sandy. I mean, he's he's going to be Sandy. He got some double plays, right? He's the pitching is not to me a concern with this team really at all. I think that it's at least going to be solid.
That's what I was going to ask you. Like, what has anything surprised you so far?
Anything surprised me? I mean, they've been hitting who knows? It's spring training. Like Don Mattingly always says, don't get too carried away with spring training results. But they're all hitting. They've got they got depth of bats, right? They still don't have there's no one in that lineup that you point to and that guy's an all-star except maybe Marte. But they've got everyone in the lineup, especially if Isan and Chisholm, one of the two, is a legit hitter and not a guy who's both those guys are sub 200 career hitters and really small sample size. If those guys are even just solid, low 200s, can hit a home run every once in a while, you don't have a whole lot of weak spots in the lineup, no matter what. You might not have a lot of stars, but you're not going to have a lot of games where you only have one hit, just because you're going to have guys who grind out at bats and at least can kind of make things interesting, even if you're not going to have a whole lot of 8-9 run games. I think you're going to have a lot of games where just you can win with that level of pitching you have.
I love that description because one of the things that we've been struggling with is my partner Tommy always talks about there was I don't know what publication it was, 5th worst lineup.
Bleacher Report.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
5th worst lineup. And I found it interesting because I couldn't have articulated as well as you just did then show me where the weak spot is. Because I agree with you. None of those are easy outs. It's interesting. The same thing happened last year, right? The bottom feeder thing. And then they come in and I don't, to me, it's we are better. And then I think my question for you would be, it's one thing to get better, but how much better did Atlanta get than us? How much better did the Mets get than us in the offseason?
Yeah, I mean, that's really the challenge in this division is probably the best top to bottom division in baseball at this point. I mean, I don't even know if there's a second. I guess the NL West could be okay, but I guess the Rockies are probably going to be bad. But so this division, I mean, that's obviously the Nationals won the World Series 2 years ago. The Mets are kind of the new hot big spender. You meant the Braves have won the division a couple of years in a row. The Phillies have been a disappointment, but we kind of know their talent level, certainly. I think, it's the way I kind of thought about last year is if that season was a full 162 game season, do the Marlins make the playoffs? Probably not. But it was certainly you can't discount experience. You can't discount confidence. I don't think with a lot of these guys, you think a guy like Lewis Brinson, that season probably helped him a lot in where he was going. If he had a full season and had his ups and downs and struggled through a season. Like, where is he right now? Instead, he had a mostly good year and kind of became an important like sort of leader for a playoff team. And I think that matters. I think you're right. I mean, the Mets, the Braves are probably two of the top 10 World Series contenders in terms of preseason odds. The Nationals, obviously, like I'm not going to count them out as long as they have those pitchers, even if they're probably not quite as good as they were 2 years ago. The Mets, I mean, the Marlins, they basically they could have a really good year and finish fourth, which is the challenge. But again, I think that's still a positive for this team. I don't know if, again, kind of like the Panthers, we know the fan base can wax and wane with the Marlins. But I think they could be a fun team and still not make the playoffs. It'll be interesting to see how people kind of respond to that, because that's probably the most likely outcome for this team. But of course, like I said, their pitching is great. If a couple of guys in that rotation turn into stars, it changes everything. If Starling Marte has a monster season, it changes everything. If some of these young hitters come up and really flash early on, it changes everything. But the ceiling is there, and the floor is higher than it's been in past years. But I think the safest prediction to make with this team is probably they're going to be good and miss the playoffs just because of how good that division is. It's going to be tough. That's probably the safest prediction for any team in this division.
It's interesting you say that, because I, as a sports fan, I'm constantly finding myself like pushing the Marlins. And it's like, I've been a Marlins fan, since the beginning. And, we've been burned so many times, and the reloads and the things that happen. But this, in a vacuum, if you can forgive the past, right? Former owners we're talking about.
Yeah.
This is exciting. Like we are in an exciting baseball period right now. There's nothing not to be excited about with this season and this team.
Right. Especially with some of these young guys like JJ Bleday sitting back there waiting to come in. And then happy birthday, Max Meyer turns 22 today. He's one guy I can't wait to see
22
at Marlins Park.
22. I mean, it's like it's art. We're loaded up.
Yeah, big time. I mean, and that's why we're seeing this Jazz Chisholm Asan Diaz battle go to the end. That's going to be decided in the last couple of days of the spring training.
So, well, that's awesome.
I mean, you see with these rebuilds, this is like the fun time, basically, right? Like, and the Marlins haven't necessarily had a ton of these because of the way they have done the reload rather than rebuild. But this is the fun time. I mean, when you're competitive, and it was basically last year was certainly year one of it, and it was a weird season. But these are kind of the fun times when the young guys are all coming up. They have their ups and downs. They're competitive. They have some really fun wins. It might not translate into playoffs or World Series or anything yet, but you see the signs. And I think that's what should kind of be the expectation going into this season.
David, it's interesting you say it, because I watched a lot of games last year. And what I found, I love pitching, and I loved, it was too exciting, it was like as they tried to cobble together these games, but it was fun to watch, right? As a student of baseball, it was fun to watch the Marlins try to get, hang on to a lead, for dear life. And I really don't think that's going to be a problem this year. Like, I think that we're going to see a change in that. And so there's just a lot of cool things to watch.
Yeah. And it looks like, if you look at the lineup for today, that looks like a regular opening day lineup to me. You got Marte, Dickerson, Aguilar, Cooper, Anderson, Duvall, Chisholm, Alfaro, and Miggy Rojas.
Yeah.
With Pablo on the mound.
All right. So the only thing Tommy hates worse, only thing Tommy hates worse than hockey talk is high school talk.
Exactly.
All the tuners, all the listeners tune out now. It's just me and you, David.
Right. We just our viewership just dropped off the cliff.
What are you watching? Are you going to be following any local baseball?
Yeah, I'll hop into it a little bit. It's busy right now. Obviously, just got back from basketball. We pick our all-county for the winter sports coming up soon here, and then Panthers. But we'll have some coverage between me and a couple of our freelancers, Bill Daly and Andre Fernandez. will help out there too. And we got some good baseball in South Florida this year. A couple of guys who could be first-round picks in the 21 draft.
First-round picks, Tommy. Yeah. That'll get Tommy interested.
You're talking about Del Castillo?
Well, him, but some high school kids too.
All right, yeah.
Yeah, we're talking about high school kids, dude. First round high school, brother.
Right, what about Hurricane baseball?
Yeah, I haven't actually covered a Hurricanes baseball game yet this year, but I gotta get back out to.
Dude, I love how we're sitting here just giving you assignments, man. Like,
I gotta go get a milkshake.
Like he doesn't exactly.
There ain't no time for haircuts, brother. Get us some coverage, man. I saw the other day. I was thinking about our local baseball because I think Braddock beat Columbus like 15-1.
Ooh.
And the Braddock kid pitched a no-hitter. One of the Braddock. I wish I should know his name because it's such a big deal. But man, I got to tell you something. As a sports nerd, I was so excited to have you on. I think Tommy will admit you were a good guest.
Absolutely.
I'm glad to be on. Thanks for having me, guys.
One last tough question.
Yeah, go ahead.
We ask everybody, who do you hate the most in the NL East?
He's struggling with that one.
Well, he's a closet Phillies fan. Let's start with that.
Yeah, number one.
I probably.
Come on, it's the Braves, right?
The Braves.
Yeah, come on, man.
Exactly.
We wrote an article.
They were the villain. Actually, I was a Nationals fan growing up, so the Braves were kind of the villain for most of that run when the Nats were good in the 2000s.
Why is it so easy to hate those Braves?
Because they're the best. Like they're the. I mean, they're not the Yankees, but they're the Yankees of the NL East, right? How many divisions did they win in a row in the 90s?
It's
like
funny.
13 or something.
I grew up watching, on TBS those crappy games. It was like either on WGN you could watch Cubs, and the Cubs were just horrible.
Right.
And then the Braves, watching Dale Murphy and all those guys, and. I remember I started my legal practice. I started working like as a summer associate, started working as a young associate, going to Fulton County Stadium, going to all those Braves games. I lived in Atlanta. I went to the Olympic Stadium when it turned into the baseball stadium. And it's like I never stopped hating the Braves. Like always hated them.
Yeah. I got one final question. This is more a Miami question. Best crab cake in Miami.
Oh.
Ooh, I actually don't know if I've had one in Miami. I'm really picky with my crab cakes. Like I usually, if I see it, like I won't order it in Florida unless I like go to a place and hear like this place. I figured the answer. So I don't know.
I figured the answer was going to be David Wilson's Kitchen,
right?
And we were going to head over.
Exactly.
I gotta learn. That's on the list of recipes to learn.
Right on, man. Well, we're glad you got to come on. Hopefully, we'll get to pick your brain throughout the season.
And I'm gonna slip in one more hockey question.
Sure.
Who's your favorite Panther?
I mean, I like Barkov just because he's like, Florida has not had a player like him ever, right? Like where a guy's arguably like a top 5 guy in the league. But I think with this team, Hornqvist is like the most important guy. Just the fact that he's become like, he's got 11 goals. I think he leads the team in goals after last night. So a guy who's kind of traditionally been a role player has been the kind of star role player that the Panthers just haven't had the last couple of years.
I think it's funny. My daughter, I always ask her because she'll watch just to keep her interested. I'll be like, who's your favorite player, whatever. And last night, like who, that line, Huberdeau, Barkov, and like she knows I love Barkov, right? I love just watching him. I could literally just put a camera on him as he plays. Like it's just he's so tough, so good, so effective. And she was like, I don't know, Bobby. Like I love Huberdeau. I love all these Panthers. I'm like, that's a good answer.
All right, so we're gonna get him back on again once the season gets underway, man, and hopefully we'll be able to get to a game together.
I was gonna say,
sure.
If you do one of these high school baseball games, let's do it. Hey, Grant Miller, come in real quick. We got David Wilson from the Miami Herald. We call him the Miami Herald Grinder. Just wanted to say hi. We're here.
You do a great job.
Thanks, I appreciate it.
No one supports high school sports like Grant Miller here at the hub of community newspapers.
Right.
You guys are bringing up. Who's your favorite high school team? Are you following it?
I can't have a favorite high school team.
Who's doing really well?
I haven't actually really covered much baseball, so I'm not sure who the power.
He's going to play on baseball, but just listen, be careful.
Yeah.
Everyone knows Grant Miller is a closet Columbus fan.
But Braddock up and coming team this year, by the way?
I guess South Miami is my local school, but
The Cobras.
They
There
had
you
Yeah,
they
the
won the
Cobras.
state championships a couple times.
Yep.
They got
Yeah,
competitive baseball. But the South Miami's really known for their football, correct?
yeah, they're in a rough patch right now, but they're rebuilding.
Yeah, to say.
Yeah, but I mean, at one time
They got some
had-
basketballs usually. They usually got some basketball. They got athletes.
Wait, the third best linebacker was Derek Thomas. How about that? Remember those
Yeah,
years?
there you go.
Alex Carter was better than him. Joey Burgess was better than him.
Grant Miller taking over that.
Grant Miller.
Give me talk about sports. I'm leaving. Nice seeing you.
David, hey, thanks for coming on, man. We'll get you back on once the season gets underway, and maybe I'll find a crab cake place down in Largo
Yeah,
we can go
let me
to.
know. I need recommendations.
You got it, my friend.
Thanks for having
Thanks,
me on,
Dave.
Have a
guys.
great day, brother. Good interview.
Awesome.
It was a little bit more hockey than I was. I kind of like threw up in my mouth there for a minute, but we're good now. We're good now. Look,
Well-
we got Pablo Lopez today and pretty much a regular starting opening day lineup. We got to win this game today.
Yeah, I'm watching today. It's gonna be a great. It's gonna be a great game. I'm excited. So
Looking
excited. It's gonna
forward
be
to
another
it.
exciting weekend of baseball.
And then we got to do a little bit of a teaser because we got Katie Florio from the Blue Wahos up in Pensacola. That's the reporter and communications director up there.
So cool.
Clemson girl, originally from Johnstown. Her dad played professional hockey, so you get to talk.
Oh, wow. I
hockey
get to
again next
talk
week.
hockey again.
Imagine that. All right, episode 19 in the books. We'll be back Monday morning.
Thanks, everybody.